Hello, YouTube. It's me, the GOAT, Aiden. It is storming out here this evening, but as my sixth grade coach would have said back in the day, we play through rain, snow, and shine. You guys have obviously seen the title of the video. You know what this is about. Um, but before we get into it, I would like to make a little bit of a quick update on how I'm going to at least approach this YouTube video. In the past, I kind of just spoke without any sort of script or outline, and I rewatched some of those videos, and I kind of sound like I'm rambling a bit, like a madman with no clear focus, no real organization, not really, you know, organizing my thoughts in a meaningful way and relating them back to the main focus of the video. And I'm not signposting, so it's really hard to follow along with what I say. Kind of just speaking my heart out. So hopefully this video is a little easier to follow. And yeah, but without further ado, let's get into why I am tired as a man of this red pill mindset that I feel like for the past 6 years, well, at least since I went into high school, has been really pushed by, social media and all my friends as the way to approach life. So I think I'd like to talk about the main goal of the red pill first. Um, at least what you're told is the main goal when you first kind of get into that whole mindset. And it's like obviously, truthfully, there's larger goals that some people might call black pill, which has its own problems, but we'll get into those a little bit later. For the moment, we'll start with you know the main goal of this red pill movement, like when you start, and it's really down to getting women. It's really just you know the modern day, how to get how to get girls, just how to find love, which is something that's haunted men throughout all of human time. But I feel like specifically with this red pill movement, it's almost superficial. It's how you can be the clavicular and just pull up to a club and get as many women as possible and just spread your seed as much as possible, which is that's the purpose of most species, and that was probably the original purpose of the human species, or whichever species humans evolved from. It's called fitness in biology, which is just the ability to survive and reproduce, or it's the measure of how fit you are, how you're able to how an individual is able to survive and reproduce and spread their genes. And you're obviously, based on whatever genes you are expressing, going to be better or worse at doing so. Um, and that's why, things like sex feel so pleasurable, or why it feels like such an achievement to, have multiple girls. Just because it's kind of coded into to the human nature. It gives us an incentive to actually go and have sex. The genes that allowed people to feel pleasure when doing these type of activities encourage them to go do them, and therefore be better suited to spread their genes and have babies and kids and whatnot. But you know and obviously there are other things like looks, strength, the ability to survive in nature are also, and so many other factors are really important to a human's fitness back in the day. And when I mean back in the day, I mean in the day of cavemen and whatnot, when if you're going to be able to make it to where you're able to reproduce, make it that far in life, you need to have a little bit of strength and a little bit of intelligence so that you can actually survive. And then obviously looks, so that females are attracted to you and want to reproduce with you. Or strength, I guess, to do less culturally acceptable things today. um, but humans are a little bit more sophisticated nowadays. I don't know about you guys, but I plan on living way past when I have kids. And truthfully, I want to have kids because I think it'll help me fulfill this more important goal. But my goal is, as a human, is no longer just to reproduce and have as many children as possible, but it's to be fulfilled, to be happy. which is ultimately the supreme goal of life, and it's why we do every action that we do. Just read Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. He explains it perfectly in that first book. Um, this is why most people, nowadays feel satisfied with, being married or like having one significant other, one soulmate that they can connect with on a deeper level beyond just looks and beyond just money and whatnot, um, and beyond just fame. All of which, by the way, can, disappear by any happenstance. You go bankrupt, you crash your car and you have to spend all your money because you don't have the right insurance. Like a lot of this stuff, looks, fame as well, is really down to luck and can go away at any point. Um, so hopefully you find like a soulmate that you connect with on a deeper level so that they don't go away too when that stuff, disappears from your life. Um, yeah, having this one soulmate, you know, that's why we see like more developed and less primal cultures involve marriages between only two individuals rather than some setup where you just have some chief or some guy with really high status in the tribe get all the girls. Like, this is human evolution. We've moved beyond just the fittest pass on their genes and have children. We're now more sophisticated than that. And like, this relates back to that main goal of red pill that I mentioned earlier, because according to the red pill mindset, getting girls is like, well, at least like seemingly at first, like the most important. Like, this is the reason why you have that mindset. And in order to get girls, you have to prioritize like three main factors, which is your looks, your money, and your lifestyle, or maybe you could say your fame. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you like stuff like that isn't important. Like, obviously, no girl wants to date some smelly fat chud who sits in his mom's basement all day gaming and gooning, and maybe he makes money off trading stocks, like day trading on Fidelity or Charles Schwab or something. You know, because I mean, for one, that's just not a stable source of income. But you can't get that deeper emotional connection with someone like this because they really don't have priorities. He's like a Jeffrey, as this person I used to watch Hamza essentially would have called him. Like, but obviously, looks and lifestyle aren't the only thing. Like, I think the problem is like red pill mindset takes this to like a bit of an extreme, um, which I'll get into like a little bit later. But I guess like on these factors like looks, money, and lifestyle, like, yeah, like they matter a little bit, but they can only take you so far. Like, they're not going to make you have like a deeper connection with someone that'll ultimately make you more fulfilled and more happy, which is the supreme goal of life, not just to get as many girls as possible, as I mentioned time and time again, which is the goal of this, at least this first interpretation or version of the red pill mindset. So already you're seeing that rift. Um, but you have motherfuckers out here, namely people like, I don't know, clavicular looks maxing, bro, who like destroy their health by taking meth or bone mashing their face and creating microfractures, which cannot be healthy, bro. And anybody with a little bit of common sense can probably realize that. Anyone with a developed prefrontal cortex who's, maybe past middle school will sit there and see clavicular fucking hammering his face and realize, okay, that's probably a bit too far. And also, even if it does slightly improve your looks, you're really going to put in all that effort for probably such a minimal change. If you get a good change, where you're more likely to cause bone fractures, but whatever. um yeah, and anyways, like, he splashes all his money on getting plastic surgery to look good in a nose job and whatever. But you really don't need to be doing all that. Like, just don't be overweight, have basic hygiene. These basic things will make you automatically a 6 out of 10. If you fucking shower and brush your teeth and hit the gym like 3 days a week for like a couple months consistently and don't eat straight garbage all the time, and you're not just a straight gooner and you actually touch grass and talk to girls in person, like, not on Tinder or like whatever dating app you use, and not at the club, like, you're automatically a 6 out of 10. Frankly, if you go to the club and you're drunk and these girls are drunk, you're probably automatically a 7 out of 10, bro. Um, and also, dude, I think what makes people fall into this red pill trap is like they get rejected once in real life and like you stop there. I mean, you got to have like a little bit of grit to be able to keep going, bro. Regardless, I think I'm a great example of this, by the way. Like, I hit the gym pretty consistently. I would say I have, a nice enough physique. And I obviously, I'm not fucking gooning all day. I'm not fat. I take care of my hygiene, and I'd probably rate myself a 7 out of 10. You may agree, you may disagree, but 6 to 8 range is probably where I'd put myself. Hypergamy will tell you only 10 out of 10s can get you girls, bro. But at my school, when I go to parties, and granted, I go to a competitive school where everybody is like a chud who cares only about getting straight A pluses. So it's not like they prioritize looks at my school. But at my school, when I go to parties, it's rather girls approaching me than the other way around. And again, I'm only a 7 out of 10. And look, I'm not proud of anything I'm about to mention, but you know, as a 7 out of 10, probably, I've walked out of bars having made out with 2 different girls that I never spoke to again. I've ghosted girls after making out with them. I've been ghosted. I've even tried dating a girl I met in a party one time, and let me just tell you, that did not go over well. If anything, all this sort of lifestyle, which again, this like at least you know this interpretation of the red pill mindset, which Clavicular and probably Andrew Tate will like preach to you, just kind of makes you feel empty inside because if you only care about looks, you're only meeting the dumbest demographic of girls who only care about looks and who go to clubs. And the second they see a slightly nicer looking guy or slightly richer guy, they're going to be moving on. But that's not every girl, obviously. Those are the type of people you make. But already, you can see a rift between this red pill mindset and the general supreme fulfilling goal of happiness. And if I don't think many people would argue that happiness is the supreme goal that we're all after. Just read Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, but it just doesn't coincide with this mentality, which is why I'm partly fatigued by it. Um, yeah, and you can even read in this book like short-term friendships purely based on pleasure. Just you know, they're not real friendships. They don't last forever. They're not friendships based on virtue, and they do not equate to happiness. Um, but you see these autistic people like clavicular again is the best example. And honestly, like if you're over the age of 16, no one takes this dude seriously. But like you see him in the club with a bunch of the dumbest girls of all time who are literally cheating on their boyfriends and even calling them in front of thousands of people watching this kick stream, thousands of chuds. And yet, this dude can't even find any actual meaningful relationship because he has no social skills, dude. His only priority is looks. And past that, you're going to find nothing from someone so fake. And then he talks about like exposing the female nature, how women are only in it for, the most attractive, richest guys. And yeah, like those are obviously the type of girls you're going to find in Miami, bro, like on a Saturday night at the club. But, you're looking in the wrong places, clearly. And I think that's ultimately the reason why red pill mindset can be taken to such extremes. And maybe he knows he's finding girls in the wrong place and he's just doing it for clout. But I'll get onto that all in a bit. Anyway, he talks about how all these girls care about is like money, looks, and fame, which like is why those are the red pill mindset priorities. If you care about girls, if you want to get girls, and all girls care about is money, looks, and fame, well, you got to improve your money, you got to improve your looks, and you got to improve your fame, right? Like that's what it implies, and so that's why he's looks maxing. That's why he's streaming on Kick and whatnot. Um, but honestly, if it were true that that's all every girl cared about, then that basically insinuates that the second, like even if you do everything, you spend your entire day, it looks like your like entire life looks maxing and getting richer, and that's how you get girls. The second they see a more attractive, richer guy come along, the bird is going to fly away. Um, and so, like, yep, you basically have to be the number one in the world. At least that's what it insinuates if you want to get any girlfriend. But then how come you see all these random ass dudes at your school, chuds seemingly, getting girlfriends? Like, this just can't be the female nature if that's true, right? So I say they're looking in the wrong place. Anyways, the reason I say all this is like there is hope. The red pill mindset, at least this version of it, is kind of like a doomer mindset. Like it's trying to tell you like there's basically no hope unless you're like a 10 out of 10 guy. You just have no hope with girls. So you have to become a 10 out of 10, but that's likely not going to happen. You just got to try your best, I guess. Obviously, as I say, looks do matter to a certain extent because, and so is your lifestyle because that's the first thing the guy is going to see in you. But there's also just so much more that both girls and guys are going to look for in a meaningful relationship. Like, I'm not trying to be in whatever relationship Hamza or Andrew Tate or whoever, or Wheat Waffles or whoever, whatever other red pill creator you mentioned. I'm not trying to be in whatever relationship they're in because it's probably like, ground, like it's probably like the whole relationship is built on superficial ideas like money and like looks, which are all subjective. Well, money is like a human created thing. And it's not like I don't say that as like shit on money. Like money has its uses and it's like really important in like a functioning human society. I'm not going to sit here and talk about how like you know communism is the way or anything, but you get what I'm saying. Like these like the second Hamza loses his fame or his money, like if he gets injured and he can't work out and he loses his physique, is his girl, if he has one, if he even has one, is she still going to be with him, bro? If his priorities for getting girls have been these factors, bro. And as I say, Red Pill doesn't really care about how happy you are. Just cares, at least this version cares about how many bitches you get, how much money you get, bro. And as you get older, you kind of realize that these ideals don't really align with the things you actually want to prioritize if you want to feel fulfilled in life. Which, as I say, is happiness and balance. And the reason, like, why I mentioned earlier, like, like the reason I mentioned earlier for why Red Pill takes these like somewhat insignificant factors like looks and fame and makes mountains out of them is because there's like it's simply shining a light. Like again, this is the doomer mindset on the worst parts of life. Again, as I say, the girls who go to clubs, like the type of motherfuckers you meet in clubs usually aren't gonna be all that intelligent. Let's be honest. And yeah, for sure, hypergamy is like a thing, but like you'd say most of that is reserved for online dating apps like Tinder or Duet or whatever else you see on your ads, bro. Because it's kind of like doom scrolling, like it's like the same as reels. Like it lowers your tolerance or attention span for content. Like in this case, the content is dudes who these women are looking at. Like obviously, if you're not in the 10%, if you're not the most flashy or the most attention grabbing, they're going to swipe left on you. The same way you're going to scroll up from a reel that doesn't spark your attention the instant it starts, bro. So like in a sense, like Tinder is just dating's version of doom scrolling. Like yeah, obviously hypergamy is a thing there, but you know, go outside and touch grass and talk to a girl in real life. How many guys does a girl see talk to them, go up to them in real life versus how many they see on Tinder in a day? Not as many. So you don't actually have to be in the top 10% if you can grow some inches on your dick and talk to them in real life. Um, but that's a little bit besides the point because, again, as I say, we're trying to be fulfilled. We're trying to be happy in life, you know? Um, but like I said, be in somewhat decent shape, hit the gym mildly consistently. Don't eat like fucking fast food every meal, which by the way, you shouldn't be doing for other reasons to do with like your health and energy levels. And yeah, just touch grass, bro, and build confidence to talk to women in real life. You'll be chilling, bro. You can be a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, which you can honestly be if you just stay in shape and hit the gym, as I say, and have good hygiene, and you'll find someone, bro. And then it's really more about the personality once you get past, you know, first sight. But yeah, and anyway, it's been known for the longest time in human history that when you're looking for love, that's exactly when you don't find it. It's when you're not looking that it just suddenly appears, bro. And this is just modern day's way for men to like to be the cheat code or the method. And typically in life there is no such thing as a life hack. But yeah, there's hope, plenty of it. I also want to while we're still on this topic, I also just want to mention about these looks maxers, like clavicular, is like they kind of just act gay, bro. Like we make fun of girls who care so much about makeup that they sit in the back of class during third period with a mirror and their fucking powder and lipstick, bro. Meanwhile, you have clavicular, who does the exact same thing, except instead of lipstick, it's a fucking bone mashing tool. Or if it's Andrew Tate, it's his Bugatti. Or if it's Hamza, it's his super well defined abs. Or 10K a month rather than 7K a month bank account. These are honestly pretty superficial things that really I don't aren't gonna change much for you in the current moment in terms of finding women. But furthermore, it's just gay, bro. I don't know how else to say it besides clavicular when he's out there with the mirror and the bone masher looking like the annoying girl in third period. It's just low test, estrogen maxing, you could say. And not to shame Hamza and Tate for the Bugatti and the muscles. I like hitting the gym. I would love to own a Porsche 918 Spider or a Koenigsegg when I grow older. I think that's how you pronounce it. That really cool ass car that there's only 10 of them in the world, bro. Um, yeah, but it's also just not so deep that my whole life needs to be dedicated to it when I could experience happiness other ways, even if it means I'll end up with a Honda Accord or a Porsche 911 instead of a Porsche 918 Spider, which is gotta be a couple $100,000 more. Anyways, I don't think anyone over the age of 16 takes these guys that seriously, but who the fuck knows. But that's this version of the red pill mindset. The main goal is to find women. I feel like I've broken down or dissected that viewpoint and explained how it does not really coincide with the ultimate goal of just being happy and fulfilled in life. Some of this stuff is really just superficial, and if anything is counterproductive to finding you a meaningful relationship that might actually keep you fulfilled and happy. If your girl really cares, if you have as I say, a fucking, if you have a Jaguar versus a Honda Accord, bro, which by the way, keeping a Honda Accord well maintained, you do have to be financially stable, but that's honestly pretty superficial. That if that's what the relationship comes down to, you're not finding the right person. But that's enough with this version of the red pill mindset. Kind of want to shift over to, I don't know, maybe people call this the black pill mindset, but it's just a different interpretation. It's the grind set, or maybe it's just another aspect of it. I think I'm almost out of recording here, so I'm going to record. I'm going to stop this and record a second. So yeah, new video recording, same video. I was just about to run out of time. For some reason, I'm only allowed to record for 30 minutes. We're now into this grind set aspect, which again, this one is a little bit more advanced. It's a little different, and I think it aligns a little bit closer with maybe trying to be fulfilled in life, but I still think it at some point it does kind of contradict that ultimate goal of wanting to be happy, wanting to enjoy your life. Um, and maybe this is a little bit of a closer mindset to what I was advocating in the last section. I still feel it's kind of superficial. And yeah, it does go beyond just hooking up with as many 10 out of 10 birds at the club as possible. And it does include, being successful in terms of like bringing in a lot of money and having good habits, which isn't a bad thing. Obviously, you want to have good habits. You want to be living a good, healthy lifestyle, not be a chud. Um, but I do think there are also flaws to this sort of grind set. Which, by the way, again, if this grind set is simply to pull in as much money and fame as possible, just so you can get with 10 out of 10 baddies, I already explained why that's not, you know, why I'm tired of this. But if you actually are doing this so you can be successful and happy in the future, I still have my own problems with it. And I think, and that's because I've actually been on this arc before, um, for a good while. And this is the one I see like the most amount of people at my school, the University of Chicago, being on, um, which is like, I guess, to like increase their like slightly like the reason why you'd be on this grind set, spending your Saturday and Friday nights scrolling through your biology textbooks, doing econ practice problems instead of going out and having fun and taking advantage of the fact that you're young and that you don't have responsibilities like bills to pay and mouths to feed and miserable cow wives to argue with when you get home. Like, you want to be able to take advantage of this fact, so like go out and have fun on Friday and Saturday nights, I guess. Um, but this kind of grind set doesn't always leave room for that sort of balance. I guess the whole expectation is that you grind now so you can be happy in the future. Um, but like, does it really make like a difference? Like, I guess what I'm saying is like, if you're sitting there, I'm kind of going off my outline, which is why I'm having a little bit of trouble here. But I'm not really going to sit there when I'm 70 years old and I'm retired. Am I really going to care too much if I'm living in like a medium sized house in a nice neighborhood versus a mansion in a golf club where I can go play golf with some other old rich elite folks? Like, yeah, I'd probably rather be in that second situation. But do I really want to sacrifice the fun? Like who's gonna have the same fun at 70 that they could have had at 19 years old or 20 years old? Like, you just don't have that ability, and I don't really want to sacrifice my youth and the ability that I have to be able to go out and make stupid mistakes and go out to the bar and feel ashamed of what I did the night before. Like, obviously, like, I'm not advocating saying this is great, that you should be going out and making out and hooking up with random people and drinking as much alcohol as possible, but you're only young for so long, and you do want that freedom to make those mistakes, to have fun. you know I feel like every Saturday night or Friday night that I'm not out and about taking advantage of the fact that I'm young. Like, I feel like I'm wasting my weekend, because I'll have so much time, in my 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s when I'm still working, when I won't have that, freedom on a Friday and Saturday night, you know. And when I'm 70 and retired, who cares if, I didn't spend my Friday nights earlier on grinding. Sure, I may have like an extra couple $100,000. Maybe I had a better job. Maybe I have a nicer house. But again, like, these things are superficial. Like, in the end, is that really going to make me happier, dude? Like, I want to have a little bit of balance throughout my entire life. Yeah, I want to be happy then. Obviously, I want to be happy when I'm 60 or 70. But I don't want to sacrifice my happiness that I have in my 20s and my teens. If you get what I'm saying. Like, I see, like, you see these reels of, titled, quote unquote, while everyone else is hungover or still asleep, quote, on a Saturday morning, quote. And, it's a picture of their Strava or a video of them running. Some of them are jokes. And I'm not here to diss on people or on running. Because, like, if you find enjoyment out of running, obviously go ahead. Or, like, if you find you are improving yourself from running and it's healthy and you're still allowing yourself to have fun at other occasions, do it too. But I guess the problem I have with this sort of grind set is like it's self torture almost. I saw this Hamza video. It's like how to make 10 grand a month, which, by the way, you can argue on the merit of that video already. Like, if you actually just like start doing the math, you kind of realize if there's 30 days in a month, you have to make $333 a day. and like if you're working 8 hours a day, that's like $40 an hour. Um, so it seems very unrealistic. But regardless of the merit of that video, his whole ideology is go to the gym max 2 days a week. Don't do anything fun. Focus only on your work. From the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep, dawn till dusk, only work. I'm just thinking, like, I guess you could do that. But for one, that's just not sustainable. And for two, you're gonna get no enjoyment out of that just so you can have an extra 3 grand this month rather than 7K. Like, is that really what you want? Um, yeah, like I don't see any point in like torturing yourself. Like you have to have a little bit of balance. Again, I see too many motherfuckers at my school spending Friday and Saturday nights still staying up late, but not having fun, making themselves miserable by perfecting their biology problem set or hitting chest day. Like it's almost as if like any form of fun or happiness is seen as a failure because the ultimate goal is to set yourself up for future success and then have fun. Maybe when you're 70 years old, you can recapture your youth and go out to the nightclub. Maybe you just don't see it as fun. Like, I'm not saying you have to go out to the club. Like, you could find running early in the mornings fun. But, like, maybe people find studying fun. I don't know. And look, you got to set yourself up for future success. Like, there has to be balance, ultimately. But yeah, take advantage of the fact that you're young. Like, getting straight A pluses. How different is your life going to be if you get straight A pluses in college and high school versus if you got mostly A minuses with some B's and C's sprinkled in here and there, or like if you skip a day or two of the gym this week, like it's not going to really be that big of a deal so long as you stay consistent in the long run, you know. And I say this as a kid who goes to the University of Chicago, a 5% acceptance rate, 10-week quarters, the work comes flying at you. It's the norm to spend 7 hours a day in the library, as I've spoke about in previous videos. So I guess, you know, take a grain of salt from what I say because I was that guy who, you know, and obviously I'm still young, but like, I don't think it would have made too much of a difference if I had gone to Mizzou or the local state school or Indiana or wherever instead of U Chicago's because ultimately I'm going to go get my PhD afterwards or go to med school afterwards. So that's really where I'm going to learn how to do my career and try and get a good job afterwards. Not after going to U Chicago, but after going to med school and whatnot. So was it really important that I went to U Chicago and not Louisiana State? Like, I don't know. And if it even if it does make a large difference, again, as I say, am I really willing to sacrifice my youth and my sanity? Yeah, if you get what I'm saying. Like I spent periods in my time in high school and in college so far on that grind set. Like, working in the library 7 hours a day. And if I'm not in the library, I'm in class. And if I'm not in class, I'm either in the gym or in the dining hall. And, I work all the way up until the point where I need to shower and go to bed. And the second I wake up, I start working again to the point where sleep is just to teleport me from one period of working to another period of working. And there's never any stop to just like sit and think and enjoy life while I'm around, bro. Like, or even just to relax. Like, I guess, like, ultimately it's a marathon. Like, you can think of like it as like if you go to the gym for a whole 2 hours every day doing 5 sets of 10 of every exercise, you're gonna very quickly run out of energy and stop being able to go to the gym altogether. Whereas like if you go to the gym for 45 minutes to an hour doing 3 sets of 12 or 2 sets of 12 or less, and you have a little bit more time to do other things in your day. You don't have to fit a whole 2 hour time period to go into the gym. And you can even skip some and still make progress. And you'll be able to keep more consistent to it, if you get what I'm saying. Again, it's all about the balance. I know, and it's not like you should do the complete opposite. I know some guys who who had like some guys who went to the local state school, and they would spend like 4 weeknights, by the way, in the middle of their semester in a row, just getting hammered or smacked on weed, bro. And that kind of goes back to the other interpretation of the Red Pill movement, where like it's all about your looks and your lifestyle. Regardless, maybe you drunk once a week instead of 4 times, but also instead of none. Or like, I don't know, maybe do something fun a certain amount rather than killing yourself over work or doing no work at all. Um, so yeah, hopefully I kind of explained that well. Life's a marathon, and it's all about balance, so that you can set yourself up for success in the future, and you can still find purpose by doing your job or doing your schooling and whatnot. But that you can also find pleasure and enjoy the fact that you're young and just enjoy life. Um, and even if you're not sprinting at the very start, like, no one sprints at the start of a marathon, because you'll run yourself into the ground and not be able to keep up with everybody else by the time you're at the 13th mile. You know what I'm saying? So you don't need to sprint early on in life and try and get only A pluses in school, because you won't be able to, like if that takes you 7 hours a day in the library, you're sure as hell not going to be working that hard when you're 45, bro. You're going to quickly run out of energy. So yeah. Anyways, while I'm reflecting here, I'm not going to like sit here like and tell you like everything that these red pill creators tell you is dumb. Like, I think I saw a Wheat Waffles video on like a couple of years back explaining hypergamy, and it's true, but only on Tinder. Like, I think if anything, that just goes to expose how bad these dating apps are and how you should go touch grass. I just think you need to do better at like we need to do better at interpreting some of this stuff and not take it to such extremes, to the point where taking meth and bone bashing, or to the point where like Hamza will just tell you you should bottle up your emotions, let them build up, and eventually you'll break. Um, and instead of like, obviously like, you know like instead of just like finding help, just go to the gym until your muscles are numb, bro. But it's not like these guys like are bad, like are completely dumb and everything they say is awful. Like, AJ has some funny clips, obviously, and some real opinions. Hamza will tell you to meditate in a journal, which are probably is pretty good advice for maintaining a healthy and grateful mindset, although like, I'm not certain. But yeah, as I said, the problem is they take everything to the extreme, and that's what I'm so tired of with this red pill mindset. Not everything is a 100% grind. Not everything is about superficial things like how many girls you can pull in the club. But it's ultimately about finding balance and trying to find happiness and enjoying your time alive, bro. Because you're only alive for such a long time. Do I really want to work? Like who wants genuinely tell me who wants to sit there and work their ass off 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year? When are you ever going to be happy? And then you just die. Like, that's obviously not fun. Whatever. Look, I'm still young and trying to figure out life as I go. I'm not even in my 20s yet. So, like, don't take any advice from me. Take everything I said here with a grain of salt. I'm not going to sit here and claim to be an expert or anything. I read a couple books, like Nicomachean Ethics and like the Five Dialogues by Plato. But, like, I'm just trying to figure life out as I go, and these are the thoughts that I have. So maybe use this video, if you're watching till this point, as like something like as a spark to sort of self-reflect on your own life and what you want out of it. And if you think the current balance you have is really helping you, what your priorities are, and if your priorities are really helping you achieve that ultimate supreme goal in life, which Aristotle will tell you is happiness. And he kind of explains um in his first chapter, like the reason he's trying to figure out what the supreme goal in life is, which he eventually, comes to the conclusion is happiness, is every action we do is to try and achieve this goal, to hit this target as if we're archers aiming at a target. And it's good to know what it is, that it's happiness, so that we're not blind archers and we can see where the target, like if I don't know, like I'll ask you, like, why do you do the grind set? Like you said, like if you want to do the grind set to take yourself where you want to be in life, well, where is it you want to be in life? And I would argue, well, I want to be happy in life. So it's good to know where I want to be in life, what that target is, so I'm not blind, and I can at least try and take actions that I think will better hit that target. And you need to know what that target is, happiness, as I say. And once you know what that target is, think on what will actually get you there. Will grinding 24/7, making sure I get the best grades in school, get into the best college, get into the best graduate school, get the best high paying job, get the nicest cars and nicest house and prettiest wife. Will that really make me happy? And now that I think of it, yeah, dude, if I had a fucking Ferrari and a mansion and living in a golf club with an absolute dime of a bad bitch wife, racking in $1 million a year or whatever, yeah, I'd be pretty happy. But what are the chances of that? Well, there's a lot of luck to that, and I don't think grinding 24/7 will guarantee that you get there. So I gotta think now. Will perfecting all my P sets so that I get A pluses and get the highest paying job, will that truly make me happy? Or if I find more of a balance where I'm still getting good grades and still setting myself up for somewhat good success in the future, maybe I'm getting 200 grand a year instead of 300 grand a year. Which, by the way, I think research shows once you get past 75 grand a year, happiness doesn't really increase. Regardless, am I really going to be happier with 300 grand a year than 200 grand a year? Am I really going to be happier with A pluses rather than A minuses and a couple B's and C's sprinkled in, as I mentioned earlier? Not necessarily, bro. So why sacrifice, you know, fun and youth in the short term to get, those small changes, which when you look at it in the grand scheme of things are pretty insignificant and pretty superficial. But I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys now to reflect. And by the way, shout out to Polly Walnuts, this other YouTuber who's way more famous than me, who gave me this video idea. Hopefully, motherfuckers actually watched this and made it to the end. Maybe had it as background noise. I have no idea. I'm probably going to get like 10 views on this, and they're probably all going to stop after the 5th minute. But if you guys are still here, like the video and comment down below what you think. Maybe this video will blow up and I'll end up debating Hamza. And it's raining again. But yeah, I'll see you guys.